Welcome to In the Hot Seat. I'm Meg Muir, and it's great to be with you. We have a very special guest with us today, Sharon Siar with Saving Our Sisters. Sharon is the president of Saving Our Sisters, which is a tremendous organization supporting women in transportation in various fields. And we're really excited to learn more about her organization. So, Sharon, thanks so much for joining us on the hot seat this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Wonderful. Well, I'll start off with the tagline or motto that I saw on LinkedIn this morning. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have their back. I love that. That's such an awesome tagline. So maybe start off by giving us an introduction of you and your background and also an overview of Saving Our Sisters.
Okay. I've been in the transportation industry for a little over 35 years. I got into the industry before there were very many women in the industry, and those that were in the industry were primarily in the background doing filing, billing, things like that. So when I got into the industry, I was fortunate enough to be trained by another woman who had her own freight brokerage. And then that's how I got started. I became an agent, and then I worked for an asset-based company that had a brokerage. And so I've just grown over the years working in the industry. I've grown from a commission sales rep up to a VP and president of a company. So it's been a struggle because it's taken me a long time. So the reason I started Saving Our Sisters is I was getting ready to retire.
Okay.
And so I was working for a company. I decided to retire, and then I I met some ladies from the Ladies Leadership Coalition who
Yeah.
invited me to be on a panelist on their podcast. And once we were talking one day about our backgrounds, and they said, "Well, why did you stop being a consultant? Why did you stop teaching? Why did you stop doing this?" And after I thought about it, I said, "I don't know why, because that's what I really enjoyed."
Sure.
You know, I always look forward to helping other companies start their freight brokerages, consulting. And then the idea came that women need help. Uh,
Hmm.
Women were struggling to become leaders in their company. The difference between the way men think and the way women think isn't bad, but they weren't utilizing those skills.
Yeah, sure.
And so I decided to start Saving Our Sisters. And so that tagline is the Ladies Leadership Coalition pushed me into starting this program. And
Oh,
since I've started it, it's been amazing because what I've learned is, and the other day I made a point on LinkedIn that sometimes you don't know what to do, but if you just admit it,
sure.
somebody will step up and help you
Yeah.
figure it out.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have found out. So unfortunately, in the beginning of my career, there were not a lot of women to help me, to
Hmm.
guide me, to give me any help at all. So that's what I'm trying to do with Saving Our Sisters. So I mentor and I coach for those that want the help and some that don't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure.
But so it's a challenge, but it's a rewarding challenge.
No, it's so neat. It sounds like you offer a lot of different services under the organization. And I'm assuming that you're reaching out not only to individuals, but also organizations that might want help coaching up a group of managers at a time to get to the next level of their career, things of that nature. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement, and that's what we're going to be aspiring to do in 2024, more of that. So I've been fortunate enough to be asked to speak at some of the conferences and
Sure.
working with women in leadership like TIA.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting with some women in manufacturing next week. And so there's a lot of organizations out there that want the help. And one of the things that I've been asked to talk to some of the men about how to work with women because they really don't understand the way women think.
Hmm.
And it's not that hard. You just have to listen. And so most of, most of the skills are with talking and listening is that you're waiting to talk. You're waiting to you're thinking about what you're going to say instead of listening to what the person has to say. So we're working to fix that. to make that a better situation in the workforce.
Good for you. Well, talk to me a little bit about mentorship. Certainly, you've been a mentor to many women in these different verticals, right? Where women might not have a large portion of the representation within the organization or within the industry at large. Talk to me about the importance of mentorship from your point of view, and why is it important or good to have a strong mentor in your corner?
Well, mentors, and I have mentors. I mean, you always need a good mentor to hold you
Yeah.
accountable, to answer questions, and to lead you in the right direction. And sometimes you might be trying to make a decision, and they're both good decisions, but which one is better? Which one will lead you down the right path? So if you have a mentor that's been where you are,
Hmm.
that's gone through what you've been through, who has connections to help you, then the mentorship program is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, as a mentor, when it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's therapy because I'm not a psychologist, but it's kind of the same concept is you listen more and then you ask questions.
Hmm.
And how do you think that
Hmm.
this would be better? You know, what do you want? What do you want to accomplish? Because sometimes you have to figure that out before you can really help yourself. And so a mentor helps that person. It's kind of like doing one-on-ones at work. You've got to
Yes.
ask the right questions. And so that way you can lead them down the right path, or connect them with the right people to help them to achieve their goals.
I kind of smiled whenever you said, I can't say it's technically therapy, but it can be, right?
Yeah.
Therapeutic. And, in the back of my mind, I always think, gosh, I'm so lucky to have a strong group of mentors around me because I'm sure my marriage appreciates it too, right? My husband doesn't want to hear me bring home all of my work things every single
Exactly.
day.
Yeah.
So it can help on a personal level to shoot things or ping things off of solid mentors that are around you, helping support you.
Yeah. And so my mentors, I mean, it's for so many years, I really didn't have, because I worked in a male dominated industry, not
Yeah,
a lot of women friends,
sure.
uh, because of people, my friends from church and in
Hmm.
my, in my home life, they didn't understand what I did for a living. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody grew up wanting to be in transportation.
sure. Yeah,
That was, fortunately, I started out in education,
yeah.
and my entire life, I just wanted to be a teacher,
Okay. Yeah,
and I did for a while, but it wasn't the career that I thought it was going to be. And
sure.
things changed, but I still have uh, that notion that I found, I finally realized I've been a teacher all along and didn't even realize it. It's just not in a school setting. It's in a work setting. So,
Sure.
so when you are a manager or a leader in a company, that's your job, is to mentor, teach,
Yeah.
educate. Sometimes you have to give hard lessons because they don't understand what they're doing wrong, but you
Hmm.
can do it in a way that's not humiliating or demeaning. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that's how women feel.
Hmm.
The men just get very frustrated with women and their emotions and the drama in the workplace. And so
Yep.
I'm trying to change that because I've worked with women. There was a time several years ago, I had like 19 women that worked under me. And
Wow.
there was a point I was so frustrated with them because of all the drama in the workplace that I said, I'm not hiring any more women, and I'm a woman. And
Yeah.
so you don't want
Yeah.
that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And so then you've got to decide, okay, you need to help these women. So I put them all in a conference room and I said, this has got to change.
Yeah.
You're setting women back 100 years. This is why women don't get promoted. And
Yeah.
you've got to realize that you can't act this way
Yeah.
because
Figure
people
it
are
out.
watching.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so that's one of the main goals, is to stop that. I know my boss one time sent me to a conference because the one thing it advertised was teaching women how not to cry in the workplace. And he
Mm.
said, because back then I was crying a lot because I just be so frustrated and get my feelings hurt. And I was one of those women. And he said, you're going to this.
Mm.
And it kind of changed my life, actually. I mean,
Wow.
changed my career because it was such good advice. It said, if you feel like you're going to cry, look up. You can't cry if you're looking up.
Mm,
The tears won't come down until you can kind of compose yourself.
mm,
It said women's voices are higher than
oh,
men's,
sure. Yeah.
and they tune you out.
Yeah.
You know, they don't hear your voice so learn to lower your voice an octave. And so it's just little things like that that do
Sure.
help. And it's not the men's fault. I've worked with some great men.
Oh, yeah.
I've mentored a lot of young men, and I'm, really proud of them that
Hmm.
they take advice and suggestions and come to me for help. So
Good.
that's what you want. You don't want it to just be about women. You want it to be about everyone working together in the workplace and being happy for each other. But all women need a tribe of women they can go to.
Yeah. Completely
And
agree.
and I have that now, and I wish I'd had it 30 years ago. But if you don't have a group of women that you hang out with or talk to on a regular basis, that's my one suggestion is form your tribe.
Yeah. I think it's great advice. So, talk to me a little bit about breaking down barriers. Women in fields like transportation, underrepresented, certainly at organizations, but the industry at large. And sometimes it can be challenging, right? There's various challenges that come up throughout the course of someone's career within a male-dominated industry.
Mm.
What is some advice that maybe you would give women on how they can help break down some of those barriers and continue to progress their career?
So my advice is to get involved as much as possible. The time allows you. I know you don't want to take. It's a busy industry. You're already, it's
Yeah.
you're busy all the time, and you've got things you still have to deal with at home. But the more you can get involved in, like, going to conferences and like transportation clubs at lunch once a month, the more people you meet, the more connections that you have, that helps break down those barriers because people get to know who you are, and you want them to think of you first. If a position comes open,
Hmm.
or they need help with doing something in the industry, if they're trying to start a new um, organization to help women, you want to be the person that they think of.
Yeah.
Sharon can do that. I've seen her do this over here. We need to talk to her. If she doesn't know it, maybe she knows somebody else. I talk to women on LinkedIn all the time. If you're
Oh, yeah.
not involved on LinkedIn, get involved. Get post on there, get your name out there. So the more people know who you are, the quieter if you're just quiet and you're just in the office all day and you don't meet people, it's going to be hard. It's going to be
Absolutely.
hard for you to move up.
Yeah.
So I know it's kind of scary sometimes. You walk in a place, you don't know anybody, but you just got to. When I was in sales, I really hated sales. But one thing I had to, because I'm more of an introvert, believe it or not, than I am an extrovert.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to just meet new people and just carry on a conversation. I'm
Sure.
better at it now than I used to be. But
Sure.
I would tell myself before I walked into a sales call, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Absolutely.
And they're not going to kill you. They might say no.
Yeah.
It might be a little embarrassing, but you can do this. And so it's kind of like being an actor. You just go in and be confident and
Mhm.
just, you know, and it'll be awkward a little bit in the beginning, but the more you do it, it's easier.
Sure.
And so I just suggest you put yourself out there, talk to people wherever you are about what you do. And I know a lot of women that what they had to do to break down the barriers was start their own business
Mm.
because they couldn't get where they wanted to go. So they said, well, I know how to do this. I can do this. And they're very, very successful.
Yeah, sure. No, I think
And
that's really good advice. It's such an
yeah,
interconnected space too. I mean, whenever you talk about mentorship, so many people, especially in transportation, right? Everyone knows everyone, and so
yeah,
once you start to form that network, you meet more and more people through that network. It's always fun to give back to your network too, and your mentors, right? So you want them to think of you as top of mind, but it's always neat when you can find ways to kind of assist or aid each other in that process.
it is. And with social media now, it's a little easier because I have virtual coffees all the time.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
sure.
yeah, we'd do a Zoom call and we used to sit and talk and get to know each other. And I try to find out more about them. And before you know it, we become really good friends. And,
Yeah,
you make time for those people because you want to help them
sure.
and they want to help you. And so that's a really good way. And just, I don't think I've ever turned down an invitation for a virtual coffee
Yeah,
just to talk,
yeah,
and I just think it's easy. It's one on one. And then sometimes you can do a group and they're fun. I know, um, here a while back, I tried to help a lot of people. I saw them on Facebook. How do I get in the freight brokerage business? How do I
yeah,
do this? How do
yeah.
So I put it out there. I said, okay, I'm going to do a Zoom call on this date from this time to this time at no cost. You just get on, you reserve a spot, and I will talk to you
Oh,
in about the freight brokerage
sure.
business, what you need to do.
Yeah,
So I was trying to give back. I was trying to help, and I thought,
yeah.
this is good. 200 people signed up.
Oh my goodness, Sharon.
But you know
Oh,
how many actually showed up? 5.
oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, it was kind of a surprise to me that many would sign up and did not show up because I sent
Yeah,
out reminders and stuff. So a lot of times, if people are willing to help you, let them.
yeah,
It's 45 minutes of your time, and it could change. It could really help you push your career forward. I know I
yeah.
offered to mentor a woman one time. I saw such potential
Mhm.
in her at one of the conferences, and so I sat and talked with her, and other people were talking about her, how great she was,
Yeah.
but she was having trouble getting over that. She couldn't get promoted and everything. And I thought, gosh, she's so good.
Mm,
And so I went up to her and I said, look, here's my card.
oh,
I said, I'm not going to charge you. I said, but I would love to mentor you.
wow.
I'd love to be your mentor. But she never took me up on it.
Really?
So yeah, so there. I don't know if she thought I was a scam. Or, I don't know.
Sure.
But anyway, but when people are willing to give you their time,
Yeah. Lean
at
in,
least
right?
yeah, at least try it out and
Yeah.
see if you like it or not. So I just would suggest women reach out. If nobody's reaching out to you, reach out to women, even if you don't know them,
Yeah.
because women want to help women in
Yeah.
this day and time. We
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
do.
Sure. Yeah. Lean into that and make time for it. It was funny whenever you were telling a story too about sales and that being uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, that's what our organization does. It's a sales organization, and it's so true. You're rejected sometimes 80-90% of the time, and I think one
Mhm.
of the other areas that's just so important for women in male dominated spaces is to be provided the space to mess up.
Yeah.
I think, particularly if you have male leadership, one of the areas that's so important from a learning perspective is the ability in the space to really fall down and then
Uh-huh.
figure it out, right? And be
Exactly.
supported through that process. I think that's a really important part of growth and development for women in the
It
space.
exactly, because if you don't fail, you don't learn. You have
Sure.
to fail,
Yeah.
but you need those people that will be there for you and not and help you, you
Support you.
know, work it out. And
Exactly.
so I've failed a lot over the years. I've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money.
Hmm.
I've owned my own business. I've learned what I want to do. Where I am now is just helping. I want to give back. I
Sure.
want to give back to these women uh, the help that I didn't have. They shouldn't have to make the same mistakes I had to make just because I didn't have anybody to tell me otherwise. So if I can keep that from happening, if they want to just ask a question, if I don't know the answer, I'll certainly find someone who does,
Sure.
because I'm not a know all end all person. Of course, there's so many parts of this industry that I don't know,
Hmm.
and so I couldn't possibly help with everything. But I can help with emotional issues. I can help with support. I can help with, building you up. And no
Hmm.
matter what, that you're not a failure. I can be there to answer your questions, and I can be there to tell you, hold you accountable, and tell you when you're wrong, if
Sure.
you're doing something wrong. And sometimes you have to be able to take some criticism as well as positive reinforcement. So,
Absolutely.
uh, and women need to be able, if I was your age
Hmm.
now and
Hmm.
know what I knew,
Yeah, sure.
I would just soak up as much of that as possible. I would just, but there's so many organizations like Women in Trucking, Women in Manufacturing.
Hmm.
There's that we didn't have back then. We did have the women's transportation clubs in each city,
Yeah,
but even those fizzled out. I don't know why they just didn't make it.
right.
I don't know if it wasn't enough women, to make it work because it was a lot of work if you did golf tournaments and
Oh, yeah.
things like that to raise money.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I just see a great future for women in the industry. I really do. We're not getting there very fast, but I think it's gonna be a slow process. But I've met some and fantastic women that are that are presidents of companies now, and
Yeah.
it's just I just love seeing it. I love to see the successes.
Yeah, no, so do I. So maybe talk a little bit about newbies. There's a lot of people that enter in this space, and I think it's a much different landscape, even from when I was in college. A
Mhm.
lot of the programs that exist today didn't, then, right? And so now you can go and get a bachelor's and master's and even advanced degrees in supply chain management. But for most of us, we somehow got into the space and it was sticky, right? We got stuck and we liked it and we hung around.
Right.
But now, there's so many different educational programs for people to actually pursue degrees and careers in supply chain. And it's been really neat to see, I think, because there's so many different facets of our space that
Mhm.
are relevant that most people might not think about whenever they're in school or just top of mind think about supply chain or trucking, right? And so maybe talk to me a little bit about the newbies entering the space and what advice you would also give them.
Yeah. So one of the things that really surprised me, I used to go to the job fairs. So I'm in Dallas.
Okay.
So North Texas
Yeah.
has a huge supply chain management degree plan.
Okay.
So they have to do in order before they graduate, they have to I think do 286
Mm.
hours of internship.
Okay.
And I loved hiring interns because they were so smart and they were uh, they're the they brought a lot to the table when they did their internship. So it's
Sure.
a 10-step thing that they have to pass. So they have to do so many things in order to graduate. And they'd have to write a paper and I'd have to send in what they actually did learn while they were working for me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so they would work about 20 hours a week. And so I was one of those companies that I wanted them to truly learn. I didn't want to just give them a job paying $10 an hour and they fulfilled their internship. I wanted
Yeah.
them to actually learn the industry.
Yeah.
So they would have to do a little bit of operations, a little bit of sales, a little bit of accounting,
Yeah.
little bit of
Rotational
warehousing. I
program.
mean,
Sure.
they learned it all. And then the one question or the one thing I always told them, I said, while you're here, I want you to really pay attention to how we operate in this office, in this branch. And I want you to bring me a solution.
Yep.
It's something that you think needs improvement, but give me the solution to it. And
Sure.
I got some fantastic things. But the one thing that really surprised me about the interns that when I would go to the job fairs, there'd be lines of people wanting to talk because at the time I worked for a big company everybody knew about.
Hmm.
And they wanted to go to work there. And it was all guys.
Mm.
There were maybe out of 100 men,
Hmm.
there were maybe two women.
Mm.
And out of all the interns that I hired over the years, not once did I have a woman, a female. So I think we need to do a better job of educating women, maybe at the high school level before they
Mm.
make a decision where they're going to go to school,
Sure.
what this industry can do for them, what they can do for this industry, um, and how it can be a very lucrative career for them.
Yeah.
So I really believe that we need to do a better job of letting people know about this industry while they're at a younger age.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. It's such a fun and
So
exciting space.
yeah, so we go out to and speak to the colleges from time to time. They'll invite
Yeah.
us in,
Sure.
but again, very few females in there. So we'd like to see more of that. But if they can get into those programs, they're really good and they'll learn a lot. And once they do their internship, they understand finally what they've been taught through the whole 4 years, things start making sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
You
love
know,
the
once they,
rotational program.
yeah,
Yeah.
they go,
Yeah.
oh, that's what he's talking about.
Sure.
So yeah, and I highly recommend hiring these interns even
Hmm.
after they get out of school because they're so sharp and
Right.
they know things that we didn't know. So
Sure. The coursework is unbelievable in some of the programs, particularly on the analytical side.
yes.
It's just unbelievable. So talk to me a little bit about paying it forward. I mean, certainly leading the next generation, it's a big task for women that are currently in the industry. But creating an environment to really foster deeper innovation and more sustainable transportation, for the sector as a whole. Maybe talk to me a little bit about that.
So paying it forward, is just, I think it's just getting involved and letting and being open about what you've been through. I know
Hmm.
I've got a friend that it's crazy because I don't even understand what she's talking about, but she she said she can sit and listen to my stories forever, and I guess I
Sure.
tell a lot of stories about the industry. But I think that's one of the things I'm going to do more of this coming year is sharing those stories,
Hmm.
sharing what I went through, sharing how
Yeah.
it turned out and how sometimes it didn't.
Yeah.
Uh, but get involved and help others. Like I know organizations, the younger people really like to get involved and give back. So they like to have programs in these larger companies. They do where they give a couple of days a year where they can go volunteer because
Sure.
that's important to them. And so one of the things that I'm doing now to pay back, and it started last year, and it's just the the people that want to help me has just I just can't even believe it. So I've started a new foundation. It's called the Gift of Freedom,
Okay.
and we're helping survivors of trafficking,
Oh, wow. Okay.
mostly children, to get them because it's one thing to be for them to get them out of the situation. But
Yeah.
after that, they don't get a lot of help. They don't get the counseling they need. They don't get the education that they need. So that's where we come in. And so when I mentioned it to some of my friends, they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, well, we want to help."
Oh,
And so, and they have, with their connections and my connections, so far we have gotten people like my attorney that needs to be a nonprofit attorney. He's doing everything pro bono. Our
oh, wow.
CPA that's
Wonderful.
setting up all the books, they're doing it pro bono.
Wow.
Our marketing firm that's going to help us, you know, everybody's offering to do it pro bono because they believe in the program. So when we talk about paying it forward,
Sure.
these are the types of things when you get out there and you meet people and you're mentoring and you're being mentored, you
Yeah.
can do so much to help the world.
Yeah. That's amazing. What an incredible story and amazing network that it sounds like you've built around you. That's wonderful. Well, good. So we always end with some final thoughts, Sharon. What are you most optimistic about as we kick off 2024?
Somebody asked me that question Sunday. And so,
Perfect.
yeah, and I have kind of a split view because I know in our industry, it's always an election year. We always suffer in the industry a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't know
Sure.
why, but it's always been that way. People don't ship as much. And it's been kind of a dark time,
Hmm.
in the last few years. And so, but what I'm most optimistic about is people are finally uh, waking up. They're not as worried about everything. They're
Hmm.
going ahead and trying new things. And I really believe, even though I'm a little worried about uh, the business aspect of it, I think it's going to be fine. I know the company that I'm CFO of. We're a freight brokerage.
Hmm.
We're hiring people.
Good.
We're going forward. We're not worried about it. And so, and I think a lot of other companies are too. And
Sure.
so, even with all the layoffs that they've had, I think more people are going back to work. The jobs are coming back. And so, I'm really looking forward to to 2024. I know I always pick a word every year that I
Yeah.
kind of live by.
Yeah.
And so I posted on LinkedIn this morning. It took me a while to figure it out, but my word this year is inspire. And so if I can inspire anybody to be better, do better, and help others, then I'm going to have a successful year. And I hope others will do the same thing.
Wonderful. Well, great ending words. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the hot seat. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.